This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks, show number 612 with Adam Hickman, recorded on June 20th, 2024. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here in a beautiful Bellevue, Nebraska, but probably not as beautiful as my friend Adam Hickman has in Southern California. Adam, welcome. And how's the weather? That's the most important.
Beautiful. 74, 75, no rain. A little cloudy in the morning, and then the sun comes out, and it's just... My favorite part is when it's about 60, 65, we start rolling the patio heaters out.
Oh.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, the Southern Californians, they don't really know what cold is. No.
65 is where something's wrong. Something's going on.
Yeah, you're an Ohioan who gets to go to Orlando. You work for Disney, and you get to work in Orlando and in Southern California. Yeah. So do you roll out the you have no idea how good you have it card pretty often?
Yeah, especially in the midst of winter when it's like negative 30. And then I come out here and like, oh my gosh, it's 55 degrees. I'm like, yeah, why do you have North Face coats on yet? I would love to know.
Yeah, they bundle up. As a kid, I grew up in the Bay Area. And as a kid, I remember we'd tap the puddles when they would freeze. And, there's a little bit of ice. And we're like, oh, it must be cold if there's ice on the puddles. And we're like, you know what? If you were in the Midwest, they'd be frozen and cracking the concrete. So right.
Oh yeah. Well, and then the potholes that don't exist. Yeah, you can lose a car in some of the potholes.
No, but. Yeah. Well, anyways, we'll post the show with some world-class show notes. I don't know what we'll get out of this one, but over at the AverageGuy.tv, big thanks to Aaron Lawrence, who joined me last week. Talked about the bird fee. I thought it was bird fi, but bird fee, bird feeders, plus some other topics that you don't want to miss. Head out there to show 611. TheAverageGuy.tv/HGG611 will get you there. Big thanks to our Patreon subscribers as well. Thanks for what you do. Just helps do some miscellaneous bills, get those things paid each and every month. You can join for a month or as long as you want. Many of you have been on since the very beginning. TheAverageGuy.tv/Patreon. Adam, good to have you. I've been looking forward to this for a while. We've been talking about this for a month or so, and good to have you. Welcome.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, thanks for always answering and being present. There's a few things I love to do in my work week, which is randomly schedule Jim Collison calls.
You do. They come in through so for those of you who didn't hear the pre-show, Patreon folks, you've gotten the pre-show, but Adam and I used to work together at Gallup. His office was literally 10 steps from me. We spent a lot of time together. We loved to goof around together. Adam, I have one regret from those days. We didn't spend more time together. We just didn't. We didn't know how good it was, and then
no, and to go back, right? Get the DeLorean out. Let's do that. I would.
Right. Well, maybe someday. Things will change or whatever. And then, I don't think we knew how good we had it. I think that's one of those life lessons. You're like, dude, if it's good, roll with it. Roll is right. Roll with it as much as you possibly can, because you never know. You never know. I'm in a sweet spot with my kids, where they're 35 to 25 and we're just having a really good time, but you never know when that's going to change.
Yeah.
And so anyways,
I know it was great. And nothing but great experience. Loved Omaha. I did love what was the state slogan for a while? It's not for everyone. I think
it was Nebraska. Not for everyone, I think.
Might want to take that in the future. But it was for us for the time that we were there. So
it was good. And didn't you, before you moved to California, you lived across the street from Jeff Daniels, right? Is that right?
I did. Chelsea, Michigan, which I would thumbs up Chelsea, Michigan. If you guys ever get a chance to go out there, it's worth it. Best barbecue in the world is there. And then if you like Jeff Daniels, it was almost a burden if he was somewhere in public, because you couldn't get in anywhere, and then the lines would be super crazy because everybody wants to do Dumb and Dumber quotes, and I'm like, can I just get my stuff and leave, please? Like, just run it on YouTube or something. It's the same thing. So that was but it was a great town to raise our kids a little bit in before we moved out.
But then you came out to Omaha, spent some time with us, since moved back to Ohio, made the jump to Disney. Can you talk? What do you do for Disney? What's your role?
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Sure. The fancy title is Vice President of Org and Cast Development. So I've got a sector of the HR division that handles all of employee life cycle without boring everybody here. Think about pre-hire, during hire, post-hire. We handle the whole gamut in between of things. So
Nice.
we've got supporting groups on the East Coast, West Coast, all over. And it's great. I mean, it's Disney, so.
Yeah, no, right on. Congrats on that. Did you? You're also Dr. Adam Hickman. What's your doctor? What's your doctorate?
Only till 5, Jim. So this is a Gallup thing too. It's your guys' fault. Before COVID, I had just asked, what do you guys want to know more about, so I can go chase that dissertation topic. And your guys' chief scientist said, well, what about remote work? That seems interesting. Go for it.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was like, wasn't a thing yet.
No.
So this sounds so nerdy, but it's like I studied a psychological construct on isolation and remote workers and how does that impact their performance. So as boring as that may sound, when the pandemic hit,
you're right in the middle of it.
My biggest regret is I didn't charge for my dissertation download.
Yeah.
Because I've hit almost 15,000 downloads to the point where I won't name names here, but somebody there had pretty high in ranking said, hey, I published a dissertation and I put it in the Nebraska library with a $5 bill in it. And every year I go back, it's still there.
Oh yeah, no, it is. You and I spent a lot of time talking about that, and of course,
you were very gracious.
We were tied at the hip in those days. We spent a lot of time talking about it. We helped both the organization, at Gallup, and then others think about this. What is hybrid work today? And we're not going to spend any time talking about this, but I'll wrap it up with this.
Mm-hmm.
Today, that's not what this program is about tonight. We want to talk a little bit about fitness, but in the moment, it's funny to think back in those days, and there were folks who were in just sheer panic of like, how do we do this remote thing? And not everybody got to go home. Not everybody worked from home. I mean, we still had essential workers doing their jobs. Thank you. If you are one of those essential workers, thank you for going in and doing what you did and showing up to work every day.
Yeah.
But a good chunk of us ended up at home, and we were everybody was like, how are we going to do this? And I remember with my good friend Micah saying, like, we've been doing this. She called me one day. She's like, I don't know what we're going to do. I'm like, hey, wait a minute. We've been doing this.
Yeah.
Like, we know how to do this.
And it's been around forever.
Yeah.
I wrote my second book I'm going to push later this year called Grit and Gratitude.
Nice.
And I keep telling people, if there's 2 things in life you don't screw up, work your tail off like you wouldn't believe, and pay appreciation to people.
Yeah.
Right? Just don't be a jerk. Is that hard? Can we just make that happen? If you do those 2 things, you'll be shocked at what the world will bring back to you.
Yeah. No, right on. So you and I got to spend some time together talking about that. It was ton of fun. We talked about it here on Home Gadget Geeks. I mean, I spent that first year of COVID. We interviewed folks in the education sector and those that were on the ground. I think of just my friends who we interviewed during that time about thinking about, hey, what's going on? How are we doing this? Think about the way the education system adapted to that, and now they've adapted back to in person. But it's a little bit, feels like a little bit of a fever dream at times. You think back to that, and you're like,
I know.
I can't believe we got through that.
But we did, right?
We did.
And we did do too some great liquids and other things.
No, good stuff. Okay, the reason I have you here is because during that time, you've tried to talk me into this several times. By the way,
my soul
you're like, dude, you got to try this.
Yeah.
I'll be full transparency. I'm back in the stairwell. I've been working out. I do need to do some resistance training, but. Dude, I love this stuff.
You're crazy, Joe.
I love this.
I know. I hate stairs. I took the elevator up to my room today.
I don't know what it is about it. Well, since I can't really run anymore. I mean, I could, but my doctor's kind of like, hey, you your hips.
Yeah.
We're going to do hip replacement if you're
I'm
not
actually going to try and convince you why cardio is a complete waste after.
It is. Although stairs are a little bit different because you're getting some strength. You're climbing up. It is some cardio. But you started talking to me every time and talk a little bit about the transformation. Let's go back.
Yeah.
Let's go back to before you started this. Where were you? Well, I mean, you did some fitness stuff in your younger years.
I did.
You did some UFC stuff, that kind of stuff, right? Talk about it.
Yeah, I was a gym junkie for years, and I think I burned out. And especially when we started having kids, I mean, I don't know how people do it. I mean, and if I figured it out, I don't know what I'd do then anyway. It's since passed, but those that can make it all work and work full time and be a full time dad and a full time husband and full time in the gym. When do you sleep? I don't know. So it didn't work. And during COVID, I got really good at eating. So, I mean, being from home, I was, stuck. I call it my box, stuck in the office, and I'd come out, eat well and packed it on, man. I was, and it wasn't until maybe a year later into it, I saw a picture of myself on my back porch. I thought, oh my gosh, dude, that's the image of letting it go. Like if there was a meme, it was me with that underneath of it. So I was like, I got to do something. And the problem was I needed something that was easy to do at home. I don't have time. I got 3 kids that are super active. And then I needed the travel aspect of it. Because when I'm here and other places, if I can squeeze it in, I can, but it's very hard because you're on till you're not, right? As soon as I get done here, I'm back on somewhere else, and away we go. So it was just, what do you do? What's out there? And luckily, my neighbor across the street from me, I'll have to send this link because I'm going to tell
not Jeff Daniels, not that neighbor, a new neighbor.
No,
right? Yeah.
No, he's an anesthesiologist in our area. The dude's shredded, and it used to piss me off because like he'd be cutting his grass, and I'd be like, "What is this dude doing? No shirt on." So Michael, if you're watching, I'm still mad at you for this. And so I just one day I walked up to him. I said, "What do you do?" And he was like, "Resistance training." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, you got to look into this thing called X3." And I thought, okay, I'll read into it. So the nerd in me is like, I'm going to study this thing left, right, up, and down, and we'll see what. Is there truth to it? And the book that's the book's great. It's like why weightlifting is a waste of time. That's literally the title of it. And to me, that's something I would totally say. I'm like, oh, I love this already. I'm gonna have to read it. So I read the book, and it focused on two separate things. One's diet, and then the exercise piece to it. So let me talk about diet because I've got a crazy one. Carnivore is the name of it, and it's pretty easy. All you eat is meat. You can sneak in.
Did you hold on before you? Did you consult a doctor on this? Did you? Okay, you just did it. You just did it.
I knew my.
Because there's a lot of folks who are like these kind of crazy, focused in diets or are radical, so to speak. No. And we should say, well, hold on. We should say, Adam, this is your experience. You're not a doctor. We're not recommending any of these things. I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night, but I'm not a fitness expert. So none of these things. We're talking about your experience.
This is me. Yeah. And I would say, don't do it. But if you do, you can call me because I'll talk to you what I did. The carnivore diet, it's, you can read a bunch of stuff that's out there on this.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon to the world of what it is. It really, if you dig into it, you're going to come to find out some things that I think you maybe have been told in your experience in growing up and beliefs probably aren't the way to what we thought it would be. Like you don't need certain things, or breakfast, is that necessary, or fasting, right? I love fasting because there's it's free, first of all, so cheers to that. And secondly, there's no product. So, I what really sold me was during the whole COVID era of things, nobody talked about health still. It was just like antibodies and blah, blah, blah. But I was like, but what else is out there? And, knock on fake wood here. No, this is probably real.
You're in a grand, of course it's real.
I never got. I'm not saying that this was because of it, but every time I tested, I never tested positive for any things of this sort. And I'll tell you, to date, since 2021, I have been sick once. And I will say, due to the regimen I put in place on diet, is probably the thing that I would contest to the most, is what keeps me as healthy as I am today.
Yeah.
And I'm on the road a ton, either internationally or locally. There's, I stick to it to the extreme.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, go.
Well, I was going to say, so, I mean, there's the diet part of things, which is really, listen, I have been, in the last 15 years, I've been a workout monster. I mean, I've ran marathons, I've done a lot of things. And we've always said diet is actually the king of this. If you want to get fit or you want to lose weight or you want to get healthy, you can work out 6 hours a day. But if you're not getting your diet fixed, and I guess I want to say, I mean, this carnivore diet worked for you, but I want to tell individuals there's a bunch of different ones. Figure out what's best for you. And but you got to get it under control. I mean, what I've always found, Adam, is I start working out again, and then of course then I'm hungry, and then I also get this mental thing like, I'm working out, I can do anything I want, and then I'm just crushing sugar, or I'm just crushing carbs.
Sugar's so bad, so bad.
So for me, it always becomes one of those kinds of things. You know, Ryan Wolf, our fitness trainer at Gallup for a lot of years,
hated my diet.
No, right on. Listen, you've got to, especially on some of the extreme diets, you've got to commit. You got to be okay with it. I'm not endorsing this. I'm not saying you got to do this, but I'm a little more interested in actually the fitness side of things.
Oh yeah.
But it's a good place to start, in the sense that, and we can say in this, look, it's kind of garbage in, garbage out from a diet perspective. And if you're sitting around, sitting around all day and you're just shoveling it in, regardless of what it is, it's just a math equation at some point, right?
I love this.
And I would never drop weight until I fixed my diet. And I was running, I mean, in my 40s, I ran 5 marathons. I was running half marathons all the time. I did a vertical mile trek up the tower. I was climbing. I mean, I was in it. And was I losing any weight? Nah. I mean, my doctor was like, dude, if you keep running heavy, we're going to have to replace your hips.
Yeah, can't do that.
And so it was like, the only time I'd lose was when I would fix my diet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it's my biggest dietary thing was 1 meal a day. That's it. And I eat 1 gram of protein per body pound I weigh. Yeah. And it's sometimes very unattractive to go out with people and eat that much. So I do. It's a work in progress, but it's my thing. I love it. I've dropped 107 pounds in a year just doing this, and kept it off doing that. I track sleep, deep sleep, REM cycles. I mean, you name it.
I would always seem like I would call you when you were eating, and you'd have eggs that were made in a waffle maker. Is that what
you say what I eat? Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. I mean, we're not recommending this. We're not recommending it.
I said don't do it, but if you do, you call me. 2 sirloins, usually about 8 eggs, 2 Baby Bell cheese, and water. That's usually a good Monday through Friday. Now on the weekends, I'll wild out and go with some meatballs or fish or chicken of some sort, but it's always in that. I stay away from carbs. Saturated fats are great for long-term fasting if you want to do that. I'll couple in a 48-hour fast. I've done the 72 hours. I did a 5-day, which was nuts. But it's more of a mental. Yeah. I love to compete, so it's a more mental game than it is anything else.
Yeah. 24 hours was the most I ever did, and that's fasting. But listen, intermittent fasting was a program that I followed for a while. I lost a bunch of weight doing it, but it was for me. This is one of those things where I think you got to find your own space in this. There's a whole bunch of people saying a bunch of different things. Again, not why we got together here today, but one of those things, like, you gotta figure that out from a fitness perspective. And listen, consult your doctor. Like, spend time. If you haven't heard this from me in the last 6 months as I've gone through major prostate surgery, make sure you are one with your doctor, right? I mean, that's
I was doing quarterly. And, my doctor would be like, well, your cholesterol is high. I'm like, I know. I told you it was going to be. Like, I just had 8 eggs before I took the test. Of course it is. So,
Well, Ken in the chat room says, interesting. He says, I took intermittent fasting to a bit of an extreme. We always like that. And skip breakfast and eat only an apple for lunch, basically one meal. And again, there's he did say lost a ton of weight, but also some muscle, and there's some things.
I've got a solution for you.
Yeah, let's talk. Let's make that transition, because Adam, when you and I were talking about this, I was like, my audience, 35 to 65 white males, who most of us are sitting around. Totally. And you, like, when I would call you, you would be coming off a workout in your office. Yeah, you'd be sweating, and you'd be like, I just did. So talk. What, you didn't go anywhere? You didn't have a gym membership? You did this from home? So I think there's some easy things that you can do. Yeah, let's talk about it. I'm going to make a big screen here.
This is it. This is all you need. You need this, and you need the resistant bands to go with it.
Now, what is that? What are you showing? For those who are on audio only, what are you showing?
It's the X3 bar. Okay. So it's meant for 8 different movements that I do 6 days a week. All with resistant bands, because here's the science behind just this bar, and then I want to tell you about the force bar, which is sweet. The science behind it is you are 7 times stronger at your peak range of motion, which is, let me back up. If you're doing a chest press, you are 7 times stronger at this point. And as you drop down, there you go. As you drop down, you lose the weight, but you're also not as strong down here. So if I'm this guy on the cat, look at that guy's haircut. It is so good. There you go. See the video playing right there? As the weight drops down, you're not as strong as you would be. So if you go to the gym, right? And someone's like, oh, I'll put 315 on there. It's 315 here. It's also at the top. But at the top, as you can see, this guy with the great haircut is stronger way at the top of this thing. And so the whole variable resistance is you are building up to that as you're coming back down.
Yeah.
This is also better for your joints. This also, where this came from is a product called OsteoStrong, which this guy here is the inventor to it, to solve bone density problems. Primarily used at NASA to build up your bone density as to go into space. But for those that have osteoporosis, look up OsteoStrong. This does it. And you can see the NFL loves this, the NHL loves it. MLB's getting all around this. His primary audience is he's going for the that's not me.
We're showing some pictures of some pretty buff dudes. Well, but you don't, I mean, you can be just regular fit, right? In this, that
was me. I was 110 pounds heavier than I am today.
Right.
And the only way, to Ken's point about how do you not lose muscle in this, there's a mechanism in place that you've got to keep the protein high. But the variable resistance training is just, it takes 10 to 15 minutes a day.
Yeah.
I always tell people that start this, if you spend more than 15 minutes a day doing this, you're wasting your time. Or you're doing something you don't need to. Right. You don't need to go to the gym. You don't need to run. You don't need to do stairs, Jim. You just got to make the jump in.
I like my stairs. They're good for the legs.
I know.
For the legs. They get some good.
Get
the heart rate up. Get the heart rate up.
There's my plate back there on the ground that comes with it. And I've got a series of bands that I bring with me. My wife can't stand it because I have my own suitcase for it.
Well, let's see. The bands are important because they have different variations of resistance, right? Yes. And then that bar you can put under your feet to pull up, right? The bar that you're showing right now.
Deadlifts, bench, curls.
You could make one of these bars, just to be honest.
A lot of people.
Yeah,
a lot of people do.
It's not complicated. It's just got 2 hooks on the sides, and it's a bar, right? This is why I wanted to talk to you about this, because I think sometimes we think that we got to get super complicated on this workout, and it can literally just be 15 minutes a day of this resistance training that is body weight. That you might buy these bands. You buy them one time and you're done. They don't break, right, for them. Have you ever broken a band?
I did one. But it was my fault because I was working. I was doing these outside. My favorite thing to do is take this somewhere, like when I'm in this area, go to Huntington Beach and go do it on the beach in the sun. And the sand, the latex from the bands itself, got all busted up.
Yeah, kind of. It will.
It was my fault.
Yeah, it will start to degrade that. I think during the pandemic, I often thought I would just do push-ups. I took 10 wine corks, stacked them on the shelf here, and then as I did a set of 10 push-ups, I throw the wine cork in a cup.
Yeah,
and I couldn't finish the day until I had done 10.
Do you remember when I used to say, Jim, in between meetings, let's do 10 push-ups and tell me when you did it? That was I love that.
Yeah. But I think sometimes we make it that simple. Or that difficult. We think, we got to do these things, these complicated programs. Have you seen some of these things online of these chair exercises things where it just gets people moving, right?
Any movement's better than no movement, right?
Yeah. Ken says I've kept some muscle doing push-ups every morning other than Home Gadget Geeks things. Tiny habits, right? And I think Adam, I think this is he does say the bar sounds interesting. This is the thing that I think we underestimate the amount of damage we can do both with inactivity or activity in a day, right? Of just being purposeful in saying, you know what, I'm doing a pretty good job of getting my legs moving post-pandemic, getting my body moving. I need to get some upper body strength, just to be honest. I need to get some of that back. But I think some of that awareness, and it's just not as hard as we think it needs to be, right?
No, you might be, if you can you, I don't know if you can pull our website back up. There's a thing called the Force Bar. This is probably, from the tech side of things, the coolest fitness thing I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, it's called a Force Bar.
If you type in Force Bar X3, it'll probably pop up.
Here we go.
So he just came out with this. Jay Quesh is his name. And if you get a minute, you can find him on all sorts of podcasts and YouTubes. Yes. So look at that lock shop. I love this. So it's this bar, but it's a digital bar. And what that means is, you saw in that video a minute ago, it measuring the force resistance that he was pushing.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can do that at home now. And there's an app that it syncs with. And so here's the theory behind it. You don't do multiple sets. You do one set in between 15 reps and 40 reps. But what you're doing is trying to fatigue the muscle at all range of motion. So somewhere up there, the chest press is easy. Somebody just do it on the side here. If you're here,
hold on. Let me get you full. Let me get you bigger screen here. Hold on 1 second here. No, it's not that one. Hold on 1 second. Let me get you. No, that's not the one I want either. No, that's not it. There we go.
So if you're here, this is your normal chest press, right? This is where you're the strongest at. When you completely fail here, you now have this range, which is about half. Then you fail here, and then you fail here. So it's one set until literally you can't move this thing anymore. That completely causes muscle failure, and not to the point where you're so sore the next day because you've overdone it, but you've just fatigued the muscle in itself. That's the other thing with variable resistance is it's completely different from your normal gym. But this is where people really struggle with this, that were the gym junkies of the day, because it's like, I got to do more weight, or I got to do more blah, blah, blah. And
more reps, right? More reps. Got to do 15.
You have to do a slow cadence, and the technology in the Force Bar does this for you, of a cadence of a 2 up, 2 down movement. So it takes 2 seconds to go up, 2 seconds to come down. So you almost have to park your ego immediately, because yes, it might be the smaller band, but if you're fatiguing the muscle the way you should be, you're not going to lose muscle. You're going to put it on while you're losing weight. But it's more of a mental game than anything else. Because if you're not seeing the reps or the big weights or the sounds or that sort, people really struggle to do it. Some of my friends that have jumped aboard of this. I usually hear from them. They're like, well, I don't understand why I can't do the elite band. I'm like, well, because you're not there yet. And that's all right. That's not the point of it. The point is, in my sense, the point of it's longevity, right? This adds to it. I've followed a bunch of longevity gurus in the day, and they'll keep your mind active and stay healthy. Well, like we're working on that now.
Yeah.
It's just like I said, it's easy to do. It comes with you. You can do it in the Grand Californian if you're here, or anywhere you go. The other cool part to it is if you're on Facebook, the X3 Facebook group is a community of. You'll never get bored with it. I'll just say that. You've always got something that you're picking up there.
Something to obsess about with them.
Right? Yeah. I've made some friends in Miami that when I've gone down there, they've just, it's a good group to get involved with because they're so strict about what it is that they're doing.
Well, I always say, and Ken says in chat, love it, science. I always say the best workout program is the one you actually do. And this I think for some folks, Adam, I mean, I think this could be, it's fairly simple. I mean, you can make it complex if you want to. There's lots of things you can go deep into this thing if you want to. There's all kinds of stuff you can dig into, but let me ask you this question. I could come up with a 15-minute routine that I do every day. That would be enough for most people, right?
Yeah, as long as you fatigue the muscle.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm keep going.
And, the reason why the bar is so important is your ankles and your wrists are not meant for 315 pounds bent. You just shouldn't do it. Right? Eventually, those joints are going to bust and break. Yeah. So this keeps it at a status where you're not going to ruin either of those joints in either squats or things of that sort. It just takes that out of it. I would say this, though. Those that have bands out there that you're using, make sure your plate can hold the resistance and make sure your bar can hold the resistance, because the thicker the band, the heavier the pounds. Like I think the elite band, if I'm doing a deadlift, it's like at the top, it's like 600 and some odd pounds. And if you don't have a plate designed to hold the resistance of it, just don't do it. Make sure it's possible there. But yeah, it is. It doesn't need to be. There's 4 movements. It's on a push-pull cadence of a back and forth, and it takes 15 minutes. And I would say I'm kind of annoyed of how many hours I've logged in the gym prior to this. I wish I'd have just.
Well, it's okay. And you did it. That's what you like. Yeah. You found a system that's worked for you.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I showed these pictures, and of course the dudes, it's showing their giant chests and big arms and stuff. When we think as we get older, actually what we struggle with the most are our hips and our back. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes that's because we lose leg strength, right? We kind of stop doing things that really build muscle in our legs. Are there things I can do with this that also, you talked about a deadlift, but can I easily switch over and get squats in or get sure. those kinds of exercises as well?
So the 2-day regimen, ready? And this, I mean, it's a good one to do just regardless. So your push activities are, let's say on Monday is a push activity. So you're going to do an overhead press movement. You're going to do a chest press. You're going to do triceps and then squats. And you can either do single leg squats or you can do regular squats. Just, your regular is going to look like this. You're going to hold it like this. Or if you're going to do split squats, there's a belt that goes with it that you can do that and be done with it. Your pull days are going to be bent over rows, deadlift, curls, which curls are done differently with bands, which is always interesting. And then leg lifts, which you just hold on to the bar and then just pick, stand up. I do those standing in line sometimes at Disney. It just keeps it busy. But those are the 4 movements. Now you can get creative and come up with new ones, and people do that, and they changed it up because I think the truth to this is people tap out when they get bored with it because they don't, they can't stay consistent. But I'll tell you, if you follow the program the way that they have designed it, 2 months, I would say, commit it to 2 months. Take a picture the day you start, and 2 months into it, you will 100% see the difference in just the dynamic of the what you're doing physiologically to your body, but then also just the things that come with it on. I think that are great.
You're not a salesperson for them. You don't have an affiliate code. You just use the stuff, right? I should at this point. X3, you probably should. X3, if you want to, you can put an X3 bar if you want to check this out. And again, I think, Adam, there's some things in here where there's some things you could do and try without even necessarily buying all the equipment, right? I mean, there's some easy resistance bands are fairly easy to find. We had some available in our fitness center for a lot of time. And there's
they're
some,
not uncommon.
yeah, just some fundamental movements. Have you been injured at all during this? Have you ever experienced an injury or gotten to a spot where you had to stop doing it? This is, when you're running or lifting, I always hear about these guys, oh, I hurt my shoulder or my knee hurts. Have you had any challenges along those lines?
Yeah, but let me condition with this. I'm a nut with stuff like and then we got to talk about this too.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get to that here in just a second.
Let me talk mornings. So I'm a cold plunger. I love it. So I'm bummed.
Ice bath is what you're talking about, right?
Yes.
Ice bath.
46 degrees, 44 degrees in that era, 7 to 8 minutes. You should 100% do it. Do not do cold showers. It's not the same. It's brutal. I don't do cold showers. I think nobody should do that ever in life. It's a bad idea. Just don't do it. Cold plunges, yes, it's still water. There's a difference between it hitting you and then it's just you're on and over it. An ice bath you can get for $20 on Amazon. Right? You don't have to get the fancy ones. Chillers are great. We should talk chillers someday, Jim. But you don't need that to start with. You need ice cubes and cold water, and no harm there. So I think sometimes I probably have restricted certain injuries due to my unorthodox ways of going out about my mornings. Some things where I did get, I guess it's tennis elbow is the term for it, was because I got bored doing one set because my old gym mindset came back to me and I was like, you got to do more, Hickman. And I was doing volume training, which was 4 movements. I probably was doing probably 16 movements. It took me about an hour to do it. And after a while, it caught up to me to where I was fatiguing muscles so many times, so often, it just hurt. And so I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I emailed X3 people. they're so nice, but so jerkish about it. They came back, they're like, are you following the program? I'm like, no, I'm not. Is that what you're going to tell me to do? Are you kidding me? They're like, yeah, stick to the program. So I have just now stuck to it. And like I said, it some people, I'm here out here. We're here this week. They're getting up at 5 to go to the gym. And they're like, what time are you getting up? I'm like, I'm getting up at 5. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Unless there's a crime or a natural disaster. But you can spend 15 minutes in the morning and you're done for the day.
Yeah.
That's it.
You talked about a $20 ice bath. I looked this up on Amazon. This one is $29. So maybe not 20, but let's say 30. And you're never going to get your spouse to join this. Does your significant other ever jump in there and you have an intimate moment?
Absolutely not. No. Those must be microscopic humans because I can't fit in there with another human being.
This just cracks me up how they're trying to sell this. Like, yeah, you could sit in there. It's not a hot tub. Like that first minute or two is just
brutal.
Right. It's brutal, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Just so folks know, here it's $29.99. You can get it for $30.
Click on this middle image. Does she look more mad in that picture?
Oops, hold on. Oh, I got the video. Hold on one sec here. Does she look what? Oh, did you see the
same picture?
I couldn't get the guy flexing his muscles. No. There he is. The middle picture is the same as the second one. But look at this dude. He's feeling pretty good about himself.
Nobody does that. Nobody does that. I mean, maybe you could. And now I'm going to when I get home. Nobody does that.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of benefits to.
And you're missing so this is great. So this guy, I would get him out of here because you're missing the point. You got to be totally immersed. You got to go in. You got to up to your neck, cover your heart. This guy's he's a phony. Get him out of here.
I've heard Ken says, yeah, woman included. You know, yeah, no, she's not going to join you. Yeah.
Now I do. Go ahead.
Ken says I may have missed the points behind skipping cardio, etc. Unfortunately, I have to drop and catch the rest of the recording. Thanks for coming on. Super interesting, inspiring. You're no, you didn't miss that, Ken. We didn't spend any time thinking about cardio. I still am a big fan of cardio just because I like to get my heart moving. But Adam, your thoughts on that?
It's great for burning calories. It's not meant for losing weight. Here's why I can prove that out.
Yeah.
And then I'll hit the ice bath question.
Yeah.
If you, let's say you, Jim, did you ever track calories you'd burn running steps?
Oh yeah.
How many did you burn?
Oh, it depends on the workout, but probably 500 or 600 calories in a 50-minute workout, let's say.
Okay. That's a lot.
Well, steps are serious. Like that gets you moving, but it's still only 500 or 600, right?
Yeah, but then that's when you clock it in, and then the burn afterwards.
True. You get some additional burn afterwards. We get on the treadmill, cool down for 10 minutes, and then you get maybe 90 minutes worth of some calorie burn in there after the fact. Yeah.
So you readied your body for the next thing you're about to eat. And a lot of, long distance runners and others fuel them normally with carbs or other things that the supplement right off the bat. The thing that hurts the most in cardio is your body needs to feed something.
Mm-hmm.
And it often turns to your any protein intake that you have or muscle. It's going to burn there. And then any saturated fats is coming, right? There's just a lineup of things that's going to follow behind it. So if your diet is aligned up and you follow a specific program, it's not that cardio, you can't do it. I always say do it for the fun of it, not because you're wanting it to do something more of.
Yeah. It's good for your heart. Like that's how I approach cardio. It's not a way to lose weight. If I'm going to lose weight, I got to diet right. I got to get my diet in order. Anytime I've ever lost weight, it's because I got my diet in order, not because I got my workout. There's a funny meme of a guy just running down the road at full speed, and he's just like, and he's like trying to chase my diet in my 40s, trying to, right?
It's so real.
No, for sure.
The part that hurts the most is like until you track it. So here's a good thing, just for the fun of it. MyFitnessPal you can download for free, right? Track what you eat in a week. And look at the macros, be mind blown if you've never done that before. That was the first awakening really for me I just tracked what I ate for a week. I'm like, oh my gosh, how much you don't need most of it. There's things that you just fill and comfort.
Yeah, but I want it. I don't need it. I want it. That's the hard part. It's up here in the brain.
That's the fasting trick of it though.
Yeah.
No product to sell. It's just look at Dana White right now. If you haven't followed Dana White on social, he is dropping weight left and right. And it's hilarious when they say, what are you doing? He's like, fasting.
Yeah, just not eating. Like it's not rocket science. No. You just kind of go in. The crazy thing about fasting is that it gets easier the longer you do it. And that's the thing. The first couple times you're just miserable and you just got to push through and you got to get a little bit. That is one of those areas where you can go take depending on how you do it, go an hour every time, go an hour more every time you do it. So just don't try to, this is the thing. People try to start and they're like, I'm going 20 hours. And you're like, no, you're not.
16 and 8, 18 and 4, 20 and 4, 24. 4, like there's a rhythm to it you can do.
Yeah. Well, 16 and 8 is a great place to get started. Like, that's an easy stop eating at 8 p.m. Don't eat till noon the next day. That's a super easy way of getting into it. Then you can start going like, okay, I'll go to 1 and then I'll go to 2 and then I'll stop eating at 7 and then I'll stop eating at 6. And you can start adding in, and then pretty soon I was surprised. When I was hanging out with Ed Sullivan and I was in Boston, that's a couple years ago now, went 24 hours and just stopped eating after lunch. And I didn't eat till the next day at like 1. And you're like, you get your kid. Cannon asked a question before he bailed. He said, what's the benefits of an ice bath? What What do you find the
Yeah.
benefits?
Well, do you know the Huberman Lab? You ever listen to that podcast?
No.
Okay, Huberman, it's a commitment. It's like reading Danny Kahneman's work. Before he passed, he was phenomenal, but his books were commitment. So a Huberman Lab podcast is a commitment. It's like 2 hours, almost a Rogan podcast. But he is I believe, an MIT professor that does free lectures through those. So the nerd in me loves this cutting grass. And he goes into a whole discourse on benefits of ice bath, which sounds great in science, but in application. So for me, I can't contest the most what they say. I will say recovery is great. It's the dopamine release is off the chart when you come out of there. You can't be mad coming out of an ice. I've never been like,
really?
Oh,
really?
It's unbelievable feeling coming out of that.
So you got to sink in, right? And there's that moment of where you lose your breath.
Yeah.
Is it that way every day? I've never done it successive days. Does it get any easier the more you do it? Okay. It's hard every time.
Yeah. I mean, and you have to play around with the temperature. Like I made the mistake up front. I'm a competition guy. I was like 36 degrees. I got this. And then I get in there. I'm like, this is a horrible idea. So then you start tuning it up. And I think the research that I've read, between 44 and 48 is the sweet spot. There we go.
Well, and even for 100, right? And this one's got a $20 coupon. So it's like it's like $89, right? But in the things I've never liked about the ice bath sometimes is all the ice it takes, and you got to prep for this thing. Not everybody keeps this kind of stuff around, right, to make this work.
No, but
some of these you can close up and it'll hold some of the temp, right?
Yeah, your tap water. Look at that. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Your tap water is cold. There's other ways, like you can just supplement right from the beginning of it, and you don't need to buy it, or just go get Amazon. I've seen has these giant blocks of water that's stored that are just ice cubes. Throw in the freezer and throw it in there as you need it.
Oh, yeah.
There's ways around it. This isn't new anymore.
HelloFresh, which we do all the time, sends these blocks. You could throw those in the freezer, and then they have these gel blocks. You could throw those in there. Mm-hmm. I think some of these ice baths have lids, so you can close it up, keeps it. They're insulated in some way. You keep it up. Yeah.
Somewhere cold. Take it out. Take it outside.
Open it up in the winter, right? Just leave it. Let it get cold. Let it get cold. Adam, we're coming up. I told you I keep you an hour.
Yeah,
you're a busy guy. You're super important. Anything else you'd say as we kind
I got one more for you. I'm gonna do.
You got that thing to share. Go ahead.
ionbottles. It's the latest. I would say the latest trend in hydrogen water. This thing it forces you to do one. You got to drink. You got to drink water every day. I don't know where you guys are at with that, but if you don't do it, it's an easy fix. It's self-cleaning. You can charge it. Rechargeable piece to it. You fill this up with any normal water, hit the button, takes 10 minutes for it to push the hydrogen into the water. But if you see anything right now related to pH balance and alkaline water and things of that sort, this is the fastest way to do it and not spend a fortune buying the boxed water and all the hoopla with that. There's initial cost with it right up front. It's not cheap. It's like $150 for a water bottle. So just bear with me on that. But I don't golf and I don't do other things. So this is where I get my kicks.
What's the science? What's it doing?
So ion bottles, the higher the hydrogen in your water, the pH level, the more your body can receive and break down and use actually what it's meant for. So some people would be surprised that if you get your water tested, most water has things in there to dilute smell and odor, and they suck out the beauty of what it should be doing for you. Or when I had our water tested, we had a higher chlorine percentage in there than most public pools do. We would never know because they had deodorizers in there to take that out of it. So this was what I could find that just proved out that if you're going to make an effort to drink water, why not make the most of it? And so I spent countless hours researching products and listening to people and who said what, reading reviews. And this was the one I finally landed on. And I travel all over the world with this thing. There's no way I wouldn't bring it with me. Even to the point where I've got the bigger one for at home that our kids drink as well. I just
you got the pitcher, the ion.
Yeah. I knew I needed to up my game on how much water intake I took.
Yeah.
And so when I read it and said I was going to commit to it, the nice part is this isn't like a 2-liter jug that you see people walking around with sometimes. That's a joke. But you can drink one of these just so fast. So.
We have a lot of those floating around Gallup. A lot of the giant Stanleys or, whatever they are. I
mean, they're great for some, but I'm going to stick to my.
Listen, okay. Yeah. I mean, listen, it's better than nothing, right? I mean, if you're not drinking water today, it's better than nothing. And we do need to stay hydrated from that standpoint. I can definitely feel it sometimes, when I'm like, I need to drink some water, now, right?
There's so much,
there's
so much from it, and here's the fun part: when you get hooked on to hydrogen water,
you're killing me with that thing tonight.
I don't know how to shut it off.
What is it? Your phone or is it the computer?
Oh, it's my laptop. I don't know how to shut off sounds.
No, that's all right. That's all right. You're rookie in this. You're okay.
Totally. So when you use this for so long and then I forget it or I don't drink enough of it,
right,
you feel like garbage. So I just that would be my testament. I don't think they're going to put that in a commercial, but
man, it must be time to get you. They must be pinging you, Adam. When are you going to? Why are you so late?
I told you they were going to get me.
Why we need you right now? It's
my
holy buckets.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry.
Well, Adam, hey, we'll let you go because I know you're a busy guy. Thanks for coming on, and always great to see you. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being my friend and hanging out with me and calling me on. You said this, but you literally just put time on my calendar. You're like,
I do.
I need some gym time.
Here's what happens. Let me tell you the truth of it. I'm sitting here thinking, what do I need today? I need some Jim Collison time. And then I send the invite. Thank you for all.
And it's usually on Friday. Listen, it's usually on Friday. And you got me through the pandemic. We spent a lot of time on the phones.
Yes.
During the pandemic, and you're a good friend, and I appreciate all your insight, and thanks for coming and sharing this. Well, you and I were talking the other day, and I was like, why don't you just get you on Home Gadget Geeks? Because I think whether you go full X3 or whether you go full ion bottle, you don't have to do any of those things. But for God's sakes, do something.
Move. Yeah.
Do something, right? Get out, get active, do some things. And I think there's the reason I liked what you were doing is because that was, again, I'd call you at noon and you'd just be coming off of a workout and you'd be like, I just spent 15 minutes working out. I'm done. It's like, oh, what? How is that even possible? So I thought for some they'll appreciate that. You can get into it, right? This is one of those things you can get into it as much or as little as you want, but something, right? Do something, right?
Yeah. Well, let's do this too. I'll make this possible. If you're friends with Jim, you're friends with me. So if you are going to venture down this path, find me on LinkedIn. I told Jim I got suspended on LinkedIn on Twitter for some reason. I don't understand yet.
Yeah.
But if you're going to go at it and you want to chat more, anything I can help contribute to your health long term, I'll do it in a second. Just reach out.
Yeah, appreciate that. Adam Hickman, Hickman, and I'll throw a link to his LinkedIn profile in the show notes, and those will be available. Adam, thanks for hanging out with me tonight.
Yeah,
I've been looking forward to this for a while, of just hanging out with you. Enjoy your time there in SoCal, and we got to figure out some time to get together in Ohio.
Yeah,
I know you say it's open anytime.
And you can show me how to turn off the notifications on my. I appreciate it, Joe.
All right, dude. We'll let you go. Go be important, and we'll catch up with you later, man. Thanks. Appreciate it. Good to have you. If you're listening live, stay around for a few minutes. I'll wrap things up as we go. Big thanks to Adam as he tries to figure out how to close out StreamYard. Just click the exit thing and get out of there, Adam. You're good. You can just close out. No, you're not out. You're still here. close the window. It'll automatically.
Okay, I'm going to disappear.
Yeah. Peace, man. Good
Adios.
to see you. See you. There we go. Got him out of there. Oh, Adam is just one of my best friends in the whole world. So always good to Justin says thanks. And always good to hang out with Adam. He was one of my most favorite guys to I hope we get to work together again someday. He was just one of my most favorite guys to spend time with. Just super real, super honest, super like, Jim, this is what works. Here's what doesn't. Of course, I appreciated his work in remote, his insight and his PhD on remote workers. We spent a lot of time talking about that, and he was super helpful to me. So Adam, thanks for coming on, and appreciate your time here. Brian says, yeah, interesting perspectives on fitness. I think the thing I wanted to emphasize, and Brian, thanks for that comment. I think that I want to emphasize the most, and maybe some of the things that I learned too. I think sometimes, we think it takes a gym membership or it takes some commitment to running. And I ran a lot, guys. Just let me be really clear with you. In my 40s, I ran a lot of miles, a lot, way more than anybody should have. And 5 marathons and hundreds of half marathons. And it was all fine. That's what I wanted to do. But as I've gotten into my 50s and my doctors are worried about my hips and some of those kinds of things, I've kind of tried to figure out some really efficient ways to get this done. And and so just as I was talking to Adam the other day, one of these Fridays, he just puts time on my calendar. He said that. He just puts time on my calendar. We were talking about, I said, it's probably time to get you on Home Gadget Geeks and talk a little bit about what you're doing, because I think it's super efficient. You don't need the X3 products, although they make it easy. It's one of those kinds of things, right? You get into the system, they make it easy for you. X3, I'll throw the link in the show notes. I threw it in the chat as well. But just something, I've been over the last 8 weeks, I've been jumping back into the stairwell. And that's what works for me. I love climbing stairs, builds some muscle on the different than running, in the sense that, climbing stairs, you build muscle and build no stairs, right? It's a little bit different. Works for me. I used to do push-ups as I was doing stairs. I need to get back to that. That's one of those things I kind of need. I do need some upper body work. I had some problems during the pandemic. I lost some of the flexibility in my hands. I got some things going there that I think push-ups will help with. But I could use some resistance training. Every time I talk to Adam, he's like, dude, seriously, like how many times do I need to tell you this? Right. And Justin says, I appreciate this. Do you need a gym GYM membership or a gym JIM membership? So Justin, it's a funny comment. So the reason I like it is because I know all of us. Listen, if you're listening to this and you're outside of the age demographic, which is 45 to 65 male, right? Great. Maybe you're younger and you're doing great, or maybe you're older and there's some of these things that you can't do. But I think in this phase of life we're in, especially when we think about bone density and strength and some of those kinds of things, I think we think it's unattainable, and it's totally not. There's some things we can do, and whether it's this X3 or some body weight exercises or something, let me just encourage you, do something, get some movement. We spent some time talking about, and I've spent a lot of time on my Apple Watch lately, tracking those rings and just getting some movement. And listen, I could do what Adam's doing and drop a bunch of weight if I decided that's what I wanted to do. But right now, I'm getting in the stairwell. I'm getting healthy. I'm getting my heart back in shape. I got a physical scheduled, by the way, gentlemen and ladies too. We don't have that many ladies. Gentlemen, if you don't have a physical scheduled for this year yet, let's get it done today. Like, why don't you just go ahead and stop this or pause it? And I can schedule a physical on my app. I have an app for our healthcare provider here. But why don't you call your doctor? It's time to get a physical. If you haven't done that in a while, if it's been a couple years, it's okay. You can do that now. It would be a good time today. I'll wait. Go ahead. Go ahead and get it scheduled. Make sure they're checking all those things. Like, it'd be a really good idea to get that. Even me, and I like to think of myself as being healthy, but last physical I had, which was back in December, my doctor said, I want to see you again in July and I need you working out again. Like, he was just like, oh, there's some numbers in here and you're not diabetic yet. You're pre-diet, but not even pre, but like there's some things that are creeping up here and I'd like to see you get some physical activity. Those things are important. I go back to the doctor on July 2nd. I have a PSA. I'm doing some blood work for my PSA on next week, and I got an appointment with my doctor. We'll get a good look at my PSA for the first time since surgery, and I'm going to stay on top of this, and I want you to as well. I want you to, if you haven't been doing this, listen, it's not too late. Like, if you're thinking, Jim, I've been putting this off for a long time and I can't go back. My doctor's going to say it's too bad. No, don't say that. Like, it's okay. You can get in there and they're not going to shame you. And if they do, find another doctor. They're not going to shame you. They want to see you, right? I mean, that hopefully you're in a safe place with that. Yeah, I just want you to do that. You've been listening. Most of you have been listening to me for a long time. And, some of you, I've heard from some of you, and you took my advice back in December when we talked about this. And you know what, guys, we have an excellent opportunity to be proactive about what we do. You don't need to get crazy about it. You don't need to invest a lot of money in it. You don't need to. It doesn't take a huge commitment, but it does take some. It takes something. You figure out what works for you and then work it. Start to work it. And I think most of all, and I'll wrap with this. Most of all, find out any program is better than none, and figure out something that works for you. And then stay consistent to it. Figure out a way to make it work. Tony says out in chat, he says, listen, providers are people too. Some struggles. We want everyone to be healthy. And Tony's in that space. And they do. I got to tell you this story. So before we go, I was with my urologist who did the prostate surgery back in December. And he's like, how you feeling? And I said, dude, it's a miracle. Like, I'm 125% better. I may have said 110, but let's just say I'm 125% better than I was. I can't remember a time when it was as good as it is today, and you kind of sometimes think, like, it can't. I didn't know what I didn't know in that, and after surgery I was like, oh wow, like, holy. Going to the bathroom, you think like, well, I mean, it can't affect that much of your quality of life. Yeah, it does. It does. It absolutely does. And if you're struggling with that today, I want to tell you, it can be better. You got to work with a healthcare provider to get this done, but it absolutely can be better. Doesn't need to be something as radical as that. I mean, like, we've got this thing in our heart that's got to be in good condition. We've got to worry about, just make a few changes that make you a little more healthy, right? Do some things, track some stuff, I've had a bunch of folks talking about fitness gear, and listen, Tony says his doctor gets on him too, and he's in the business. Like, he's in the business of doing this. Make a choice to do something different. Make a choice. Justin says he doesn't have a heart. I know you do, Justin. I get it. Yeah. So he's good. But, I want you to be healthy. But you don't have to be crazy about it. I think sometimes we think we gotta buy into this whole thing. Adam chose to go down this X3 route. He loves it. It's motivating to him. It works for him. May not work for you, but do something along those lines. And but most of all, go to your physical. Would you get a physical for me? If you haven't done that in a couple years and you're thinking, oh, like I'm struggling right now to get a passport photo. I don't know why. My passport expired during COVID and I got all the paperwork filled out. I just need to go get a passport photo, which I think I'll do next week when I'm on vacation. Don't let that stuff discourage you. It's not too late. If you haven't seen a dentist in a while, go see the dentist. Like our teeth, that stuff matters for our physical health. Like, and you're like, Jim, it's too late. No, it's not too late. Not too late. All right. I'll get off your back. I'd love to see you get healthy. But I'd love to see you be reasonable about it in this. You don't have to go and do something. If it's just a walk every day, start with a walk every day. Just make some small changes to get some things started. Listen, I appreciate you guys. Adam just said, call me when you get a second. That's awesome. I appreciate you guys. Listen, we've been doing this together for 13 years. For those of you, and many of you have been listening all 13 years. Thanks for going along on this journey of mine. You know what you're in for here. You know what you're going to get from me. And thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of the community. Thanks for the emails. I think of Jim and Neil and those guys who send us emails all the time. Thanks for that. I appreciate it. And I appreciate the community. Every time I think I'm going to stop doing this, I think, why? Why would I? We have a great community here. And I think of Brian and Justin and Tony, who came out tonight to be a part of the live crew. And thanks. Thanks for hanging out with me. I mean, I'd like to think you're my neighborhood, in this way. For those of you who don't come out live, and that's okay. If you listen to the recording, thanks for doing that each week. And I hope in some way we bring something, the community brings something to you, the guests that we have. Thanks for doing that. I don't know why I'm getting sentimental tonight, but it's kind of fun. You know what? It's my show. I can do that if I want. So thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate you guys for everybody doing this, whether you're live or listen to the recording or whatever. Thanks for doing that. Speaking of that, we're live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern out here at theaverageguy.tv/live. Got some good stuff coming up for you here in the near future. Let me scroll down to that now as I look at the list. So Ed Sullivan is joining me next week. If you're an Apple fan, he's got the latest iPad Pro, I think, and he got that a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago or so, whatever. He ordered it on that day. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about that with Ed. So it's always good to have him on. Of course, he's my cigar buddy, so nice to have him on. July 4th is actually Thursday this year, so we'll take that week off. So nothing on July 4th. Screw you, England. The ruthless shackles. We broke away from the ruthless shackles 200 years ago. Appreciate that. And then Jay Madison's coming back. I haven't had Jay in a year or two, and Jay will come back. He's got some new things going on. Excited to catch up with him on the 11th. So if you haven't decided to join us live, you can do that on the 27th or the 11th. Love to have you out here. 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern. Join our Discord group, theaverageguy.tv/Discord. And of course, want to say big thanks to Christian, who over there at Maple Grove Partners, secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from people that you know and you trust. And that's Christian, maplegrovepartners.com. And plans still starting at $10. So you can check those things out today, maplegrovepartners.com. Justin reminds me, barbecue. I need to get Mark. So I will ping Mark as soon as we're done. I got to call Adam, and then I'm going to ping Mark as soon as we're done and say it's time to get you back on the show. Maybe we'll get him on the 18th or the 25th. For everybody watching live, it won't be much of a post show, but thanks for coming out. With that, we'll say goodbye.